Dennis is absent this evening. All right, now we can see. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we did receive a revised agenda, so I would entertain a motion to approve the revised agenda that we were aware of what we actually received today.
I'm making a motion to approve the revised agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of approving the agenda that was presented, that is presented, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. All right. The consent agenda. That includes our minutes, financial reports, circulation reports. Any questions or anything on there that would we need to take care of before we move to approve those? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Making a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. I didn't notice any public comments, so we will move on from that. We've got some action items. We've got Clark and Anderson and Navigate Solutions here with us to discuss more on our Harrisonville branch. I think we're turning it over to you, is that correct?
Well, I do appreciate the fact that you're letting us present today, so that we have Navigate Solutions. We have Clark and Anderson, we have quite a few on the team. Kind of introductions later, and we are presenting the initial schematic design. So we'll kind of do a model and qualify that, explain the aspects of the library. As far as we'll start today's agenda, we're going to update you on the progress up to date. We're going to go through the estimate as far as how we got to the estimate. It's just not like a square foot estimate, so we'll kind of detail how we did that. Also, a total program budget, so that's going to be explained a little further, but it's not just a construction budget. It's budget for moving, it's a little bit there every permit, all the way through the process of furniture. So we'll kind of go through those steps and explain them further.
Does that
Not a problem. It'll all get actually, and then we'll go through the schematic design of the Clark Anderson, kind of going through their processes all of the design part, and then they'll follow some next steps after the process of where we're at, and then we'll have questions and answers at the end, and if you have questions, so the progress up to date right now, as far as completed items through due diligence and just design items that we need to have. We've done replatting that is all completed at this time. Title search, surveys that we need for the land contract, appraisal is also part of the land contract. Rezoning has been approved through the city, so that is completed this time. We do phase one environmental, that's kind of more part of the design, see what kind of information you need there. There's no issues that came back in the environmental report, so we're good on the lot itself. Pre-site development meeting, we had one yesterday at the city, so we're always doing pre-meetings before we submit as a event type. So this is a pre-meeting before the actual site development goes in. And then the schematic design is the design portion that we're at right now. So this is, you'll kind of see that as we fly through the model itself. Estimated budget alignment, we've done exercise with Navigate, Clark, Anderson, doing a complete budget, and then we'll kind of describe the steps that took to get to that. But as a collaborative information and compare to get a realistic budget, and we'll explain what we're going to do that. Activity is still in process. We are currently doing a geotechnical, like talked about earlier. They actually did it today. Check that out. So we should see the geotechnical report by the end of the month. That'll tell us everything to do with soil conditions and things of that nature. Traffic study, that is one thing they work with the city on, something they're going to require us to do. So we'll work with them to complete the traffic study with that. And also flow test of their fire to make sure we have that. Estimating process. So to get to an actual estimate, is like we were saying before, it's not just about square foot. It's not a made up number. It's a long process that both sides went through, and collaborative meetings to get to a number that we think is really realistic engineering for construction of the project. So the first thing we do is a quality checkout. So from parking design, through programs and estimators on both sides, ours navigate side and parking system, you're basically doing a takeoff, what you're going to say, how much concrete you need in the building, how much rebar, how many square foot of drywall, what is the roofing cost. So it's a very detailed step throughout the whole building process. There's 21 divisions of construction. You basically go through that and fill out the detailed estimating list. Also, we'll go out and we'll talk to contractors and vendors, depending on what particular mechanical systems are spec, that we'll go out and see what the market is today on labor materials, and we'll compare that also. So it is input from outside, from our estimating teams. Basically, the design team estimate input, so we all got together, the partners and navigate. We're comparing to make sure we're all looking at the same equipment, same process to build it, and we're comparing those estimates. So that way we know that we're apples to apples on what we're looking at and what we're bidding out. And just going through the process and making sure we have everything covered. The budget tracker, developing, tracking the proposed changes. So basically, anything that we do, Bridge will come down, we'll have a Bridge estimate, and anything that we can do as an alternate, things of that nature. We have a tracking spreadsheet that we use with all the additional items that we can either add or delete in the process in order to get to a budget number that we're after. Construction estimate, scope, alignment. Once again, that's collaboration between the teams. Bid alternate plan, that's where we'll have, basically you'll have your construction you did yourself. And then we have items that we take out and we bid separately. So if we're basically in budget, if we want to take a certain alternate, then we can add that back into the budget. Or it's bid out there in case we need to take it out of the budget in order to meet the actual goal of the budget itself, to meet the goal if we need to take it out or add. Total program budget development, that'll come over the next sheet. We'll describe the process of what we're all looking at, and we'll talk about total program budget. So once again, total program budget is not just a construction budget. So the first section is the actual contractor bid amount. It will also include your construction estimate, it'll include construction contingency, and any escalation costs that we have built in. That's just one piece of the total program budget. We also have another section which will include your permits, any kind of utility fees, tap fees, things of that nature that are outside the construction part of it. We also have a line item in there for furniture, so it's going to be your indoor outdoor furniture. That is a separate line item as far as tracking that will not be in the general contractor's bid. That will be bid out separately. As far as the land purchase, when we purchase this land, we're in the contract stage right now. We have $200,000 of Harrison property owned. At this point, the Braywood work land acquisition is not included in these numbers. That will be funded from the general fund at this point. Financing costs, bond issues are in that number also. We're tracking anything we do with those costs. Once again, this is looking at the overall total budget for the whole project. Miscellaneous costs, you'll have moving costs, so moving all the books from here, all the shelves, any of that type of miscellaneous costs, that'll all be in this total budget cost. So currently, right now, the total budget is $8,541,418. The previous budget we were basing that off of was $8,718,389. At this point, we'll have parking introduce their group and go through their model and show you the actual schematic design.
I'm Allison Wonder, project manager and architect for Garden Anderson. And we've got one folks who today. We switched it last time, so you may remember her. She's our landscape architect. And then we've got Matt Klaus in town today. He is our library designer and architect. And he's going to jump in and kind of roll around in a
switch up computers here real quick, but you're going to kind of see a 3D model. You'll get to kind of walk through from the street level, see what it'll look like, kind of as you come off Commercial Street, and then we'll walk through the building itself. And I'll let Elise go ahead and start off and kind of recap the site. This would be basically what we talked about last time, but there's a couple modifications that we'll highlight.
Yeah, so you may recognize this from last time. This is model form. So you'll see that for the access to the site, there is a pedestrian pathway in the right of way along Locust Terrace. So that sidewalk will connect to Locust Street with a curb cut to that sidewalk to also connect to the curb cut across the street. So there'll be pedestrian access that way across Locust Street. The sidewalk will then connect to the neighboring property to the west. And the city told us yesterday that they plan to extend that sidewalk to Commercial Street as well. So there will be pedestrian access from both streets. And then you can see that the sidewalk will extend north for library access. And then we have that 22-foot asphalt drive as vehicle access to the site, where it will lead to a 49 stall parking lot, which includes 2 ADA stalls. There is also a car drop-off towards the front of the library site for easy drop-off access in case that is needed. You will see that the sidewalk also continues along that way to provide easy pedestrian access from the parking lot. You will see along Street North, there will be a trash enclosure that will be made out of wood and with a gate as well. And then to the east is a one-way drive, and that will lead to the book window drop-off. So for other site access towards the east, for site amenities, you will notice that there is a sidewalk along the south edge of the building that will lead to a small closet area. We plan not to have various kinds of seating, whether it's like tables and chairs and umbrellas. But you will see there's also a low seat wall that will be made out of calcium-based concrete with probably a cap to it. So this acts as sort of a border edge to kind of contain the little so they don't run out into the lawn, and just kind of define that space as well. But it does provide an opening to this more flattened grass lawn area. So that provides another opportunity for if there's any activities that want to be drawn to the lawn, so any outdoor activities like that, outdoor recreation. But it also provides about 40,000 square feet worth of extension area. 4,000. 4,000 square feet of extended library space if needed. Yeah. And then I can talk more about painting. We'll see that there's a bit of foundational painting there just to set it up. But I did include tree plantings and screening along the west parking lot that is required by city code. And then of course to the north we want to preserve as many trees as we can. That's it. So yes. So we put a hedge shrub kind of along. Nothing's required by code, but since that window is there, we do want to screen maybe the view to that parking lot space and office building. So we do provide the hedge shrub there, which we just justify by.
So we're only required to do hedge on one side?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the way they divide the code. So the property to the west is a veterinary building, so that's a retail space. So they require the screening for retail, but if it's not retail, which is the property to the east, they don't require screening.
And how much is there to be in the budget?
Are the trees on the south already there or already planted?
Those are planted, those are required trees that we need
Okay,
for the frontage.
but you're gonna try to salvage as many to the left?
Yes.
Okay, good.
There is quite a bit being taken out with the side of the parking lot there.
Yeah.
I think this tree line is probably about right here.
Okay.
This is just a representation of the trees, not site locations
Sure.
at the moment.
And then going back on the sidewalk, is part of what's built into the project, the sidewalk to where the curbs used to be, or is the library also providing the sidewalk along the?
We're providing that sidewalk, so that is not there right now.
Okay.
That's a city park.
That's a city requirement.
Now might be a time for me to ask, if we would be interested in having a flagpole out there, even though it's on the outside. Now, I'm not up with it. Do you always have to have a light on the flag?
Yes.
And that's what I thought, and
Unless you take it down at night.
then you have to take it down.
If you take it down at night, you don't have to.
Right, that's okay, that's what I was thinking. So I know that's an extra cost, you have to have electricity out there. Let's we did solar, but that was just a thought out.
Yeah, we haven't planned for that at the moment, but if it's something that's critical, we can, look at the options to do that.
Yeah. Any other general site questions?
How much living space do we have in the back, from parking lot back, trash dumpster? That's actually tree line.
That's probably about, I'm sorry, I remember you're about 50.
So you use most of everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
We'll get the item on our property.
So I'm going to take us on a little tour of the library, and we're going to actually start by backing out a little bit, because I know early on, one of the things we really want to consider is what's the view of the library as we're approaching. So we're going to be coming up Commercial Street, and this is still kind of a ways away, but you're already starting to see that through the trees, it's coming up Commercial. We're not driving spaces, we're looking at spaces. You are able to start to see the library from this vantage point. So not only from the south side, but we're starting to get a glimpse to an element or entrance, which is really intended to brand the library in the library systems brand. And here then also being branded as this particular building in its own right, while still keeping the same character and materials, general materials, as were used in Pleasant Hill. So this would be the view as coming up Locust Street and then coming over Locust Terrace. As you can notice here, we are being purposeful planting the trees, so we can keep this vantage point open. Get a really good view of that bold library sign. The intention there is that it be either illuminated the same way as the Pleasant Hill sign is illuminated or backlit. We want to be mindful too of neighbors and overlighting the site. But again, a really good prominent view. We are, this is still far enough back from the road that we already have that addition potential in the future. But I think there's still a lot of really prominent views here. So as we start to enter the site, just from a material standpoint, again, we're using very similar, not identical materials or material types and color as we were using at Pleasant Hill. So that includes a horizontal wood look material in kind of very select locations, bound by vertical panels in dark gray, as well as lighter color. Now, at Pleasant Hill, we utilized a blue accent. Here we wanted to spray that a little bit so that, again, you can have an identity for the Harrisville branch, still maintaining a brand color. So we're actually just moving over to this orange and using that wherever we do have our lighter color materials. this kind of an additional accent. Then from a transparency standpoint, you're trying to balance the appropriate amount of visibility inward and outward from the library, while also being mindful of cost as well as glare of the space. This corner here is the community room, so here we would envision the possibility of access in or out from that space. On the south side, we do have our children's area, teen area, so this larger expanse will be right off kids' space, and then the corner over here, which moves around to a little bit, would be your teen collection. But we'll come around through the parking lot. And again, from this vantage point, you start to see the representation of screening to the west, representation of required lamps through the parking lot. But then as we approach the entrance, we are trying to create a sense of verticality and emphasis here, not only with the brand color, but also with some height and transparency. So it's very clear where the entrance of the building is. And that's very important here because we have that secondary staff entrance. So while we want to see the convenience of staff, we also want it to appear as the main public entrance. It could be an entrance or limits that I think is to be determined, but again, having the most prominence at the entrance. I'm going to come around the west side. These are windows into the administration space. Offices, some open office area, and then we do have our garage for the bookmobile, the courier van. And so that will access directly onto the drive for the parking lot. But we thought that was probably the most efficient way to minimize concrete and kind of also work very well with layout and interior. So on the north side of the building, we do have our one-way access to the book drop. We have additional windows for offices, break space, our book drop, service window. We are providing a small cover over that just for inclement weather. It's probably not going to stop a typhoon or anything like that, but if it's drizzling out, it's just going to provide some great cover. And on this side of the building, we are incorporating a concrete masonry unit. This would be a fluted unit, so it would have kind of a rake vertical texture to it. It's very similar to the existing product that has a Pleasant Hill, so we're incorporating it in here just again to not only bring that brand through, but it's also an economic choice for certain parts of the building. Along the east side, we're wrapping that concrete masonry around, and then back to our vertical panels, horizontal panels. These are study rooms. Beyond this, we have our adult collection behind these lovely shrubs. And then as we continue further to the south, windows in our teen area, kind of that nice open teen corner. We would envision, and one side here just a second, we would envision as a slightly taller interior space. Again, maybe similar to Pleasant Hill, where we've kind of pulled the ceiling plane back and allowed some structure to express itself. But again, kind of a simple application of materials in a similar vein as previously done, but again, trying to present a distinct identity here as well. Are there any questions on the exterior or one side?
On the next side, where the adult collection is, and that's all windows are.
There is the potential for that. We need to still explore what our egress requirements are. This could also be a future possibility for an outdoor unit. So we're kind of exploring that as an option, and right now we're not doing that. Any other thoughts on the exterior? You will notice that we are including this as first screen, and that's really intended, as you can see here, we'll have approximately 6 rooftop units from mechanical, larger units that will have an array of smaller units as well for very specific spaces that have specific cooling needs. So we are wanting to be mindful of screening that from the south approach. And so I think that actually also carries very well kind of into this identifier at main entrance. Let's see that here. And one side of the building. And just to preface this, no materials are being shown yet. So so we're going to see nice, boring, white surfaces everywhere. But we are starting to show furniture, we are starting to show a representation of lighting. Lighting has not been specifically designed yet. We want space to feel to represent the right scale. So as we come into the vestibule, this could be a really good spot for community information. Both open space, and then as we come into the lobby, we're working to keep a higher space, higher volume through here. We have our drinking fountains, space for coffee, screen for information, and a small waiting area as well. The lobby itself has the ability to be closed off for after-hour program use. So we have a pocketed security gate at this location. And then from this lobby too, you have access to public restrooms. This is actually access into the main administration space. So providing that as a good identifiable front door. Most likely has some signage there identifying administration. And then they have an additional family restroom, custodial closet, and then mental health room. We'll go into administration in a little bit, as well as the library. We're going to start by turning to the right and coming into the unit space. So right now we're showing the space set up as in a presentation. So the main presentation wall on the south side. Still trying to bring in some good natural light. These would have shades provided as well, so in the evening hours we would be able to close those and block on that light. Trying to keep a volume space here, the availability of storage, not only rendering doors yet, but storage in this space, possibly a refrigerator, counter space, sink, and so really flexible use of space for programs, meetings, etc. And then at the back of the room, we would have a storage for different chairs. So we would completely open space up, or really just promote as much flexibility as possible. That also have access out to the children's area, so for story time and other programs, we can come right in that space for those activities.
And is that size doesn't help?
It's a bit larger, so it's probably about 10 feet deeper. So it would have a larger capacity. Similar to Pleasant Hill, we want to make sure that staff is easily visible and identifiable, but it's also going to be closer than staff at Pleasant Hill, so it's not quite as much of a jaunt to get to the staff position. So that's what's identified here right in front of us. And then as we come further into the library space, we're really designated by age collection groups. So to the right, we have our kids collection, utilizing lower shelving up front, some higher shelving towards the rear. We have our teen collection in the back here, and then have our adult collection across the major portion of the open library space. We are trying to pull as much of the collection off the walls as possible, so that it's easy to browse, also opening up those exterior walls with windows, and some additional seating. And the orientation of the shelving is really intended from that staff point to allow good visibility through towards the exterior. If we are required to have a door over there, making sure that we see that. But really from this vantage point, we have a clear view really across this library space. So the front door, back into kids, back into teens, over towards our public computers, as well as our DVDs and audiobooks against the wall here. And then visual connection back to the staff space as well. So we'll walk back there in a little bit and just walk through public computers. Proposing two larger tables, probably 7-foot diameter tables that would have 5 computers in each, so 10 total for the public accessible computers, a print station, copy print here, and then shelving against the walls for our digital collections of DVDs and audiobooks. We'll move over to the kids area. I should note though this would be our self-check spot as well as holds, so making sure that that's close to the entrance and also close to staff or assistants if needed. We're using the collection to separate that center space from the really active zone of kids. Shown here, we're using our great swivel truck That is in their day. Also showing the opportunity for art to be hung on the walls, really bringing in a lot of natural light into the space, but really making sure that we're providing good open space for different activities, reading, puzzles, games, and obviously very important literacy. So just creating a space that's flexible and change over time through the day if needed, depending on the programs. And we would have one station here for children's computer. Also making sure that we're incorporating furniture for parents and caregivers so that they can enjoy the space with children.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So currently, the children's specialist is in the room. Is there a space, a place for the children's specialist to remain there, or?
Right now, it would be kind of seen as being existing at this centralized location. And there is an extension really by that children's space through this zone as well. But we are trying to consolidate our staff areas really to this central location. But that is a consideration that we have. Ron, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Well, I mean, that's part of the layout being more open, that we would be able to centralize the staff, but still have it as a 3-person workstation. So you could have, basically, if you have 3 people sitting there, someone is looking in all the directions and able to address anything that might be happening in any of the areas. So.
I just wasn't sure, like, I just knew that Harrisonville has set a desk in the space for the children's specialist and then obviously the teen specialist, and that's going away.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that's per, like, discussions and all that kind of stuff. It's
Right, their workspace will be back in the workroom with the rest of the staff.
okay.
And so, yeah, they'll just be out in that central area. It saves us square footage on the floor, so that we can have the collection and the activities out there. We have to have a workstation also, then that's also more equipment and space that we need to dedicate to.
And the space provided, once we get back here, the staff spaces far beyond, much greater than what exists today. So it really offers us great opportunities to put together programs, have that space kind of dedicated to staff, so it doesn't necessarily clutter up the space out of the public.
Well, and I guess just brought back to you, I mean, obviously here, the access to the teens is likely walkable more than where we're going, so here having someone in that space is probably a good idea, but where we're going, it's not as walkable.
The layout here lends itself to almost needing those extra points,
Yeah.
because you can't really manage anything that's going on if you're over here.
Right.
So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is really seen that workstation that really provides us to you in teens as well as over kids. So thinking about that as kind of how we really organize it, that it could be open on either side. So again, you have quick access to staff out of easy to get around and kind of through the flex space and activity space as well. So right here we have one of our 3 study/meeting spaces. This is the largest of them. So this would be envisioned for 6 to 7 individuals. Could be up to 8 individuals depending on the furniture that we select there. We also want to make sure that we have transparency so we can kind of monitor what's going on. They look at a combination of that transparency, possibly looking at some obscuring film, provide a sense of privacy without needing, without too much privacy. So I want to monitor what's going on. And then come back into the teen space, a variety of seating opportunities that allow for socialization, studying, group projects, individual reading, lounging, as well as technology. So again, this is just a representation for furniture hasn't selected yet, but we would envision this to be very similar to types of uses in this space.
And that general space, they can see where the wall is, where the computers and meeting area. Is it kind of obscure about that?
This space right here,
Is this obscured from the visual?
It is obscured, but the notion is that by trying to keep this more open, we are able to, again, promote circulation staff, coming through and kind of keeping an eye on things. But it's always a balance of what's the right level of transparency as well as cost.
Great.
So we'll take you through the adult area, the adult collection. We are planning to reuse as many of the existing shelves as we can, so that is representative of the height today, which is 78 inches. But again, by bringing those to the middle and orienting them, we think it's still could be used through this open window area. Envision this as a good space for individual small group seating, some small tables, possibly even some small study notes back here as well. And then as we go further north, we have two smaller study rooms. These are each 4-person rooms. But again, trying to keep a lot of transparency, bringing in natural light through those spaces into the rest of the library. And also really good visibility in there as well. We do have an additional staff wing. This is part of the library, and that's intended to be a staff wing that assists with genealogy. So this is the genealogy nook. So lining kind of walls back here with shelving. We are not putting any windows back here, so we be mindful of light and sensitivity to the collection. So that's really why this is lined with shelving. Then while a smaller footprint trying to provide good usability, functionality, and also noting that, if you're utilizing this collection, this is the only place you have to utilize it. You carry it through the rest of the library. My fish or my film reader, but really the rest of the printing, etc., will probably take place at the general reader area. And then to come back towards the middle, this would be our fireplace space. So placing that against the wall, providing seating around that. And this would be envisioned as our new materials, possibly periodicals as well. And as you can see too, some mobile collection units that be placed throughout the library, change over time as well. From here, we're going to go back into the staff space and see, start with staff workroom. And so, as we come into the staff workroom, we have two dedicated workspaces. With specialists, still maintaining some visibility out through that space, so that if there isn't a staff person in that exterior space, you can still come on and have that genealogy, as well as again having that visibility out towards the surface point. We're using furniture to kind of create a work island in the middle of the space. So this could be adjustable height, so that whether you want to pull a chair up that, you want to stand at that, you have that flexibility throughout the day, throughout the activity, to really make it fit the needs of the individual. And then a couple of built-in workspaces, countertops on either side, storage above and below. And then we do have our assistant range manager office. That's highlighted. Okay, thank you. So that's good visibility into the workroom itself. Then further into space, we have our drive and returns work area, as well as the drive and drop spot. So this would be, again, very similar to the hill with a sliding window to allow that interaction between staff and patrons. We have our branch manager office here. So that's also the visibility out to the workroom. While not much modeled back in this area, we have our handle electrical behind this door, and then we do have dedicated storage. It's probably won't full of bins, but this is just kind of a way to illustrate the amount of space that's available. So we want to be very mindful of the amount of storage we have today, making sure that efficiently we provide a good amount of storage in the future. This room here is for telecom. So we don't need to go into that to see it, but then here we have shared break space. So break space is not on branch staff, but also administration staff. That's seen as an open space here, with a nice window to bring some natural light use. And then we're still probably working through the exact configuration of appliances, but this is again an early presentation of that. Also thinking this is an impromptu meeting space, so we're looking at the writing surface on this wall, so it's going to be seen as an additional flexible space for staff to use. And this is really kind of that transition from branch space to administration. But another key element between the two are two staff restrooms. So we want to make sure that we have dedicated staff restrooms, we also have dedicated lockers for staff. And then back here we have our dedicated administration storage area. So we had some very specific requirements to meet here, and this layout is provided for all those requirements. Then moving further into the administration, we have a series of offices along the north wall. And then our technical services area, we're going to extend through this northern portion. We have an open workroom. Similar thought process to the branch space, where we have furniture that can be adjusted. Also allows for easy storage beneath that as needed. A nice open office space with room for growth with cubicles as well. That's really what this area on the side is intended for. Initially be a workspace that could grow into additional workstations. Our staff entrance, and then just on top of that, we do have our garage. So completely van. So thinking about how this is accessed, how you're able to actually access materials in and out of the van, some storage and immediate workspace here as well. But the idea is that much of that work does take place within the library garage. Then coming along here, 2 additional offices on the west wall, 3 additional offices on the east wall, and then a conference space. So that here, through this wall, I believe 12 or 14 person capacity meeting space, technology, natural light, and we want to keep a little more transparency and visibility in space as well. And then as we come around the corner, we have really kind of the reception area for registration. And right now we're on this secure vestibule, so that people are coming directly to admin. They need to wait, so they can wait in this area, and when it's time to come into the space, they're allowed in, so we don't get people wandering through the space, wondering where to go. And then through this door, we're back in the lobby, and out we go. And I go back in. Any questions inside?
Maybe clear this Robin and others, but we don't have, there's movement between Harrisonville staff and the admin staff, correct? There's no definite separation between them. So, like when you guys are here, Saturday, Harrisonville staff could come into the admin area. Is that, you think that's a concern or not?
They can do it now. I mean, they have their area.
They have access to rooms upstairs? I didn't realize that. Okay.
We have the same question.
Okay. I thought there would be a separation. I would think you want a little more separation, but that's okay. That's your job.
The doors have locks.
What?
The doors have offices that have locked doors.
So they're your offices, yeah. It's all services. Oh, I like that book. I'll take it home and read it this weekend and get back to Monday. I just, maybe
It interacts more often.
Okay.
Yeah. And I feel like I want the real estate, and as soon as if we put more walls or dividers, it's just gonna take up more of the space that we can use to actually.
You go there. But in 2 or 3 years, we're going to be putting up a wall.
I don't know.
And right now, the design, it is actually required to have from the branch staff space through admin. And this is really envisioned as the staff entrance for everyone.
Okay.
So branch staff and admin staff through here.
Okay.
I think it's also allowed us to kind of combine some spaces for a break room and conference room, so it does take up a lot more square footage for other usable areas.
How many offices are in there and who are they set to be for?
We have 8 offices.
So that's me, and Lee, and Lori, and Pat, and Scott, and Danielle, and Sarah. Rhonda.
They're all similar or the exact same size. We have not identified who they're for yet, and then for that reason, sort of.
So then one last question that I'm thinking of right now. So there's this, right now, you just walk in and you want to stop that. Is there going to be somebody, are we going to have somebody that's now going to be an admin receptionist that's going to?
We might in the future add that
Some
on.
people in, or how's that?
But you could do like a buzzer.
I should have explained that, yes, that you can have a call button or buzzer at this location. So the notion that this door would remain open, this is where would be, this is your door. And so you're able to come here, buzz in, and then someone would come assist you.
Which we have at our back door now for deliveries or for people that aren't sure which door they're at.
And if you want to reiterate video that we've gone through about a dozen meetings with meeting and her staff, just to kind of come up with different orientations and different plan configurations, and it's changed from the first meeting through to this final meeting. So that's been quite a bit of time kind of going through the detail on these. It's not, this isn't just the first time we're showing it. So.
Interior activity. All right.
Appreciate you going through all that. That's a lot to see, and it's good to see those models. Basically, we're talking about kind of the next steps in design and everything else on that. As far as like the financing, they are working towards doing modeling and writing, things of that nature. So Mike is still working on all that on his side. Right now, we do have that lane closing still scheduled for August 18th. We're working towards that. We have a lot of due diligence. We're double check all that to make sure that is closed on the 18th. Site development plans, that's going to be the next step in the building process going with the city. So we've taken our pre-meeting that we've done this week, we've already done that. They gave us certain comments, so we'll turn on all the information we need just to show them the site development. We'll basically see that first view, you see the outside. And then, so we have all the departments of the city there, water, power, everybody there, fire department. So basically we'll do a review on that. Once we turn it in, they'll give us any comments. Usually it takes about 1 or 2 reviews and that'll get approval. And all that approval is done administratively. Next board meeting, we'll want to update you on the bidding process and the contract and show you what the next steps are. Once we get a set of complete construction documents, then we'll take it out to bid it out openly to all contractors, and anybody will be able to bid on the project. Clark and Anderson they're scheduled to have their complete construction documents. So those are the ones that will actually turn in for permit. So that's the set you'll need to be able to do that at that time. And they're scheduled to have those completed at the end of December 18th. Once again, we'll have another board meeting to, once we send it out for bidding process, we get our bid back, we vet all those bids to make sure everybody's got apples to apples on what they're bidding, make sure it's in their bid, and then we will present a contract for your approval at that time. We anticipate construction starting in March 2026, looking for completion in spring 27. At this point, we just kind of have question and answers. If you have any questions on any of the things we went over today, how we got to where we are, as well as estimating anything like that, feel free to ask those questions to the team at this time.
Years in 14,975.
25 feet under target, so they did a good job. But they did a good job.
Two was our goal.
I was so
It looked like a lot of space there.
I don't know, like the bag guy for 2 months.
Like we would in the dragon hood.
Yeah, I think, like I said, we had so many meetings, I think the first one we were a little over, and I was like, oh, I gotta get it down, so we made it to just under 15.
We were at 15,001 at one point, we wouldn't know.
So what we wanted to do then is to give you an opportunity to, of course, see all this, see where we've gotten to. The next steps really involve getting in depth in like the design development piece. So we just like to basically get your approval on what we've done so far and basically authorize us to keep moving forward in the design development based on what we've done.
I really liked it. I said I really liked it.
Yeah.
Nothing struck me to make a comment on.
We're seeing it for the first time. You've seen it a lot more.
Yeah.
And you're happy with it.
I am. And I think we really have done as much as we could possibly do with the square footage that we've gotten to. Like you said, like there's a lot of space, and I think we're maximizing all of it the best that we can for what we want to do.
Well, and essentially, in the end, we are downsizing the size of this library branch because, the space is very large, so it's kind of thinking a little bit more of a condensed version of it.
We're losing a lot of dead
There's
space.
a lot of dead, yeah, but still there's a lot of space
Yeah.
for the branch. It's just reworking how those things are going to look. 'Cause, like I say, like here they have a children's area where everything is in there. So just getting used to the idea of something a little bit different.
Yes.
And getting used to that and thinking future-wise.
We've got a couple of years to get used to that. But I do look forward.
Obviously, very similar to Pleasant Hill. It felt like Pleasant Hill. It was lots of flexibility.
I think just being able to look at the windows.
We don't know what those are.
Well, and I think one of the things that's maybe Tanya mentioned earlier is we don't know who exactly, who in the community will come to the new location, and so having flexibility to adjust to who is able to walk there or drive there or goes there for the first time was a lot of what we talked about.
I don't know about any of it, it's still hard to navigate. Wait a second, $8.5 million. No offense, Tom. Let's do it is one of those things. You think we're at 200,000, I noticed that. No, I mean, little less than, yeah. Our communities deserve better libraries, it's easier to enter libraries, modern libraries. This is 1984 we're sitting in. It's 1984, yeah, it's time to upgrade. Okay, so what do you need from us? Well, is this something that we could potentially like mull over a little bit and come, just tell us what you need and then if you decide, do you want to decide now or mull over a little bit on the meeting and come back to it?
I mean, I would just like for you to, I'll tell you what I want. And you can say no. But just to move to approve the schematic design and authorize us to move forward with the development of design.
I make a motion that we approve the schematic designs and authorize navigating Park Anderson to move on to the next steps to hold. So we may make a calendar. Make a calendar.
I'll second it.
All right, do we need some more, any more discussion?
Are you okay with that? You okay with that?
Well, I just want to make sure we all, I guess, I don't want the public to be like, oh, wow, 5 minutes, they saw this thing, and now they decided this is, we've been talking about this for months, we've been talking about what we want, you guys have been working with these guys hand in hand, so I just don't want it to be like, oh, they just came along and were like, here we go, we've seen it in 5 minutes later, they're saying, yes, this has been in the works for a long time.
And they met with Robin a dozen times. That makes me feel good.
We also have history with our architect. Pleasant Hill building, we know that product was good. And there's consistency from Pleasant Hill building to this building, which as we talked about branding and such, and we just rebranded Drexel on the outside. So I think we're going down the right path. We don't have months to mull it.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking like months, but I just wanted us to be good and not having this sense of like, oh, just front on us. No, we've been meeting to talk about this for months. So I do want to thank everybody who did part of this, like being able to see kind of just that visual of what it's going to look like. It was great. It's really exciting. So. The motion on the table is to approve the schematic design and move forward with the developmental field, whatever's next. So I will roll call vote. Diana? Becky?
Yes.
Tanya? Yes. Sherry?
Yes.
Go which one?
Yay, thank you. It's much appreciated.
We don't spend a lot of time on it, so.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Todd.
Did you watch the YouTube version of last month's because there was a big echo?
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay, I didn't know if it was how it said it, or if you were having better luck this time.
Should be.
Thank you. It's also a pleasure to be Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else to go?
Okay, now we will move on to our next action item, because this is my for 25 and your desire is that we would approve this plan. So
I'm asking a lot of you tonight. I'm asking for a lot of things from you. So the next thing on the list is I would like you to approve this draft capital improvement plan. This, that I made a few tweaks to it, which was mostly just bringing
Maybe
some, a few tweaks to it, just to bring it up to date. So like in the footnotes, some of the areas, like last month, it was where we were at Drexel at that point. So I've updated, that we finished Drexel. I updated the project footnote for Harrisonville with what the status is now versus what it was then. I added a footnote on the Raymore entry based on some feedback from the last meeting about how that timeline is dependent on several factors and that maybe what we would like to do, but may not be what we actually do at that point in the 5-year plan.
I appreciated what you put about that, and I had a thought, and I say not, but it's always easier to go back and say, hey, you can do this sooner, than to go, oh, you need to postpone it and do it later. So I didn't know if we wanted to change that funding year from 2028 to 2030, 2032, and then see how we're paying in Harrisonville, and see what the population is like, and the revenue that's coming in, so that we don't put out to the public, hey, in 2028 we're going to try, and then go, can't do it, we're going to postpone it. So anyway, that was just.
Your idea is, hey, it's better to put it out there
and come back than as opposed to. That was, yeah, I guess. That was just an idea. It would be great if we could start by 2028.
Well, put them at the bottom, also say timeline funding will depend on square revenue capacity in future forward.
Right, and so to me, it's the same thing. Either we put it in this year and then moving it, or we move it later and then moving it up, but the action is the same thing, and it's just kind of editing the document. I feel like if we would like to try to be able to do it then it's more motivating for us to try to hit all the factors that would allow us to do it then. And I also feel like we have a better chance for potentially securing property sooner. If it looks like we're pushing it way out, it might make it look like a little bit we're not, we're not in a position where we need to entertain that. And I feel like Raymore's developing, it's probably going to take too terribly long to try to secure property, we're not going to build on it. But
Yeah, I would remind us to secure property as soon as we can, while it's available, because there's not a whole lot of good spots.
So to me, like, in this document is not something that like we're going to like get a failing rate on and don't adhere to it exactly. This is just setting out what our intent is and then the plan that we have based on all the work that we've done, to look at where we're at and what we're capable of and where we want to be. So that's not,
It's not law.
it's not law. No.
There's no ability to move it one way or the other.
Right.
And it's one of those things where, I think, as we've developed a strategic plan, and as now we're developing a capital improvement plan, like before, we didn't have those things. So now, each year, at different times throughout the year, you're gonna kind of update on things, and we can say, hey, you want to make some changes to this, that's as fluid, I think we can really make as fluid as we want with it. So, but I want you to, I don't want to discount what you're saying, because I definitely understand. And then I don't know, maybe funding year, we could put a dash in 28, dash 130. I mean,
Another idea, or say, when we have X amount, we're paying a lot down for this building, that we're going to building. If we have X amount, as soon as we have X amount of money that we can put down, go for it, so to have, savings where Lori makes lots of money for us by investing in all. Anyway, that is, so I mean, that was just another idea, is the more we put down, well, we can be gaining interest, et cetera, on that money that we save, and there'll be less money that we have to borrow, which means less interest we have to pay on that money we're borrowing. So that was just another idea. We want to say as soon as we hit a certain mark, Or do you just want to leave it like this and see what?
Because you just don't know what that mark would be, do you have an idea of what you would want that mark to be?
No, we'll put it in,
We would determine
Yeah.
how much we're gonna
We have-
put down there, so we have
Yeah.
ideas of what we can do.
Yeah.
And what that, Steve has given us. If we put this much down, if we finance this much, we put this much. So we have, that's probably a determination within the next several months, right?
Yes.
August-ish, bond agreement. Yeah.
I feel like we'd be in the same position in Raymore, so I don't know that we would know now what that would look like for that building then. Until we got to.
I think if I can probably, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think just the overall idea, it sounds to me like you're trying to communicate to look as a county, just in general, it's a very conservative county, don't want to take on a lot of debt for things that we, aren't sure we, don't want to take on a lot of debt. It's kind of how I'm hearing you're coming from. So you're trying to think more conservatively in how we're looking at the future. Is that?
yeah, and how we can spend less on interest, if we borrow less. So that's just.
We could modify those as white, other than the nice broad language we have.
I do.
So you're saying that the language covers that?
It does.
I feel like the language is broad enough that we're not putting ourselves in a box and saying, we have to do this, we're going to do this at this point. We're just kind of, I look at this as kind of a vision of what the ideal of what we would like to do and what we're working towards. It's not like it's some pie in the sky thing, but we're actually working towards it. But as we keep taking steps through the rest of this year and go through the Harrisonville project, my thought process is it's likely going to, as we're in the Harrisonville project and we get to the end of that, it's going to be like, okay, now we have a better feel. This is probably going to be changed and updated at that point to where it's going to be more reflective of, okay, now we've gotten past this part, so now we're leaving this and we can see better. This is just kind of, I look at it as kind of a big picture look of where we want to go. Right now, we have certain things that we are like honed in on that are very calculated, and as we get through those, then we can start calculating those things that are farther into the future. So I don't want to discount what you're communicating because I'm definitely very conservative in the way that I think financially as well. I'm looking at it saying I think it's broad enough that there's no box we're putting ourselves in and saying you have to do this.
Yeah, and I read it that way, I want the public to read it that way too, so we're not going back, So we see that, but I want that to be, communicated with it.
I would mention too, on a much smaller scale, everything in here is contingent upon what we can do in an annual budget. So, there's things I want to do with security and like key cards and that kind of thing. Those are going to be inexpensive items. If we get to preparing the budget for that year that I have where I plan to do it and it looks like it's not going to work for that year, just it's the same thing. It would be like, well,
We'll adjust.
We'll have to
approve the plan, change the dates, and then move on.
right.
Okay. That is my only, this.
I like the broadness of it because it does leave room for. I like the discussion too, because obviously people can go back and watch this and say, okay, we're not committing to anything, and we're just saying, this is the direction we want to try to go. And then that's what we're working towards. And then you see how things are a year from now, 2 years from now, and make adjustments as we go.
So there's enough to change.
Oh,
I won't look at this 2 years.
No, it won't. I mean, that's just typical business, right? If there's not any other discussion, we can have a motion and have more discussion if we need it. I would entertain a motion to approve the capital improvement plan as we and then going through and studying, looking. Thank you, Robin, for months. I know you wanted to try to do this by the end of last year, and I think it was.
I've moved that goalpost several
I
times.
know, right? It's kind of a bigger thing than you
Yeah.
really, I mean, when you start talking about the future, and something you have to really take time to think through, so.
The timing's been really good on it though, like considering doing the work with Steve Potter
Mhm.
and starting this process on the Harrisonville relocation. I mean, all of that has played into this, I mean, really well. And
Yeah.
I mean, I could have probably put something together for you a year ago and it wouldn't have been anything like
Yeah.
what's in here
What we
now.
see now.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we approve the capital improvement plan for 2025 through 2030.
Second that.
All right, the motion on the table is to include the capital improvement plan that we have from 2025 to 2030. We'll take a roll call vote. Sherry?
Yes.
Tanya, yes. Becky?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
All right, we move on to new business. We've got our action items. Pat? Yeah, I give you all good reading? You did. Thank you so much for just putting it, I love the way you have been doing this. Thank you so much. Are there any questions with respect to the policies that we are being asked to, we were asked to review and would like to be asked this evening?
I didn't have any changes on these.
I didn't have anything.
Okay, let's let's do a bundle. So we're not going through each one separately, just list off the number and, when you make your motion, whoever wants to make that one.
I move that we adopt policy 601, library premises, 602, request for employment information, 603, employment, medical, or drug screen, 605, health insurance portability and accountability act, 606, confidentiality of genetic information, and 607, employment of relatives as presented to us.
I'll second that.
All right, we're gonna take a roll call vote to adopt the workplace matter policy revision 601, 602, 603, 605, 606, and 607. Diana?
Yes.
Becky? Yes. Tanya? Yes. Sherry?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let's go, the next item is the account.
Yes.
The bank account.
Yes, so earlier this month, I let you know that we realized there was a counterfeit check that had cleared through our general operating account. It was for $2,460. And so we've been working with the bank framework to address it. They have confirmed that funds will be credited back to our account. They gave us 2 steps to take, possibly more than 2, but 2 big ones, which one was to file a police report, which we did in Harrisonville Police earlier this week. And the other was to open a new account, so that we have a different account number, just in case. And in order to proceed with doing that does involve opening and closing accounts. We need board approval for that. Lori has, she can explain a little bit more, but this is what she recommends is our best way to address this, so that we can still handle outstanding things, while also transitioning to a new account.
Yeah, so we just put it on paper so you guys can kind of see, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
And so just to open a new general operating account to replace the current one. With the same authorized signers. And what the bank did was something like this, signed and dated, so they know how much to transfer. That's why I put that in there. So we need to make a motion for that. If our current balance is $7,370,000, I think. So if we just do an even $7 million, that'll leave enough in there plenty to cover some outstanding checks, plus the batch that we approved and are going to be mailing out today. So, I am keeping an eye on that daily for suspicious activity, just because that one fraudulent check that we approved, so that was their recommendation as well, until we get that closed, the old one. So, and I'll do revise any ACH, payments that I need to that's going in there for revenue. And then we'll get that closed. I have paperwork for you guys to sign if you make a motion to do stuff. So I picked up the paperwork at the bank today. So, I also, just so this doesn't happen again, because our balance ends up being high when we have capital projects pending like we do right now, I would like to open another account just for payables, and just keep whatever we need in there to pay. Just after every board meeting, just transfer whatever, $200,000 or $300,000 in there. It would end up being whatever that payable report that I give you guys, and then let the checks run through there, but there would never be any more than that in that account. Because one of the things I talked to the bank about is, I mean, you can try to be as secure as you want, but every check you mail out has a routing number and account number on it, so there's only so much you can do. And someone just literally copied a check and forged, and it looked just like it had the stamps of 2 board members on it, and it looked exactly like one of our checks. So
they got a check somewhere.
Copied it, exactly. So, yeah. I mean, I have it if you want to see it, but, so that was, I was very upset. But, anyway, I just felt like that would be a more secure way to keep than just kind of a safekeeping account for a revenue. And then we could write checks out of that payables account. And that would be the only thing that our checks would have on it was that account number, instead of the ones that are holding our $7 million taxpayer money. So I would feel better about that. So I didn't know what you guys would want to do. The other option the bank gave me is just to flat out close the account right now, our general operating, and have no more activity on it, but I would have to give them a list of everything outstanding right now. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like, but if you want to do that, then we can, then we can guarantee and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to keep it open for a few more weeks just to let everything run through and give me time to order checks, and give me time to get the revenue revised to our new account, the revenue payments from the collector in the state. So that would be my preference, and my recommendation is what's on the sheet here. So
you're recommending open a new general operating account and open a payables account that money will be transferred from the general operating account to pay all the bills that we accrue each month.
Exactly. Things kind of in red there would be what, okay, all right, yeah. Guys have any questions? Okay, I need to talk this all over with Robin and talk extensively with our family, obviously, over the past week, so.
So 4 separate motions would be helpful?
No.
One, great.
Just 2, I think, really is all we need. 2 or 3. One for sure, just to open new operating account with the 7 million.
Okay.
For sure, that has to be one.
Just
so that it's clear, everybody knows what's being voted on is the most important.
Okay. So let's do let's
I do. I'm going to say the first 2.
And then
I can say those
in the new.
So I'm going to make a motion that they open a general operating account at a community bank to replace the current account. And that new amount should be for $7 million.
Okay.
There's a second on that motion.
I'll second.
So the motion is to open a general operating account at community bank and transfer $7 million to that new account. Let's take a roll call vote.
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Yes. Sherry?
Yes.
Okay. Now, determines that it needs to receive or payable, all the payables, then we want to give our authorization to open that. And we need to give our authorization to open the payables account.
Let's do
Yes, several ones.
Make a motion to close at some point in July. The business manager will close the general operating account that was hacked, or what's the right term? Compromised, that's the one I want.
I'll second it.
All right, we will take a roll call vote to close the current general operating account once all the cases have been taken care of. Diana?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Sherry? Yes. And the last motion would be to open the payable and motion to open the payable account and $5,000 from the general operating account to be used for all payables in the future. Is that how?
Yes, it's not 5 years just to get started, because we have to have something to open it with, and
Yeah.
I just don't want it to be.
Basically, the motion is just to open and be able to count and continue paying.
Like you do with your utilities and with your.
Exactly, I was gonna say we would know with utilities and, yeah.
So, I've got that, I'll take it, I need a second. All right, so the motion is to open and be able to count and continue paying. General operating account, Sherry? Yes. Tom, yes. Becky?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
All right. All yes.
And when we sign you, copies.
Yep, I've got lots of paperwork here for all three of you.
Before we leave tonight. Okay, got it.
All right, we are moving on to the director's report.
Okay, staff position changes. Last month we hired a part-time library assistant at Archie. Her name is Andrea Rosansky. She's been there for about 3 weeks now. Kristen Kimbrell here at Harrisonville is transferring from a 30-hour library assistant to a part-time library assistant.
What's the difference in that?
If you're a 30-hour, you have to work 30 hours and earn benefits based on that. Yeah, part-time can be 0 to 30, staying under 950 hours a year. So Kristen's still going to work for us and do some programs, and the difference in the hours aren't enough that we're reposting any new position for here at this point. And we currently have a branch manager position open at Pleasant Hill, and plan to conduct interviews tomorrow and Friday, actually. Basically the whole, not the whole month, but most of the month has been starting the summer library programs, and so between Scott Dale and myself, we attended all the kickoff events, and it was really fun to see. And like I put in here, more than between 1,000 and 2,000 people came to all these events combined. I haven't gotten the exact numbers yet, but specifically having been to Archie's, they had almost 300 people there, and that was almost shocking how many people came into that branch. And they had some outside too. Every truck in the county and scene was there, so that was really fun.
What about the Drexel one? Did they have this to do? Exterior?
Scott was at the Drexel one. I was at the same time as one of the ones that I was at. So, but all the feedback on Drexel has been very positive. So, yeah, I think there's pictures in here of the completed exterior. So it really looks nice, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even take any of the credit from who did
No,
that.
I just
Yeah.
follow these here so you can say, hey, thank you.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Agreed.
So yeah, I pulled some stats for some of the library programs since the registration opened. It opened, we could start logging June 1st, but we opened it May 1st this year because the feedback from the youth specialist was that when they go out to do promotions at the schools, they want people to be able to go in and register. So as of today, we have a total of 1,724 registrations, and about 10% of that they've already completed. They've already walked tests. And so participants can also do different activities to earn entries, like into the prize drawings. And so we've already had 459 activities that have been logged as well. And some of those are like, use one of our databases to go to a different research that you don't normally go to, attend the program, just try to have people engage in different ways with us. So just to compare from last year, this time we had 1,695 registrations with 219 completions. And because we're really wanting to try to boost our completion rate this year, like I feel like we're always really good and focus on the registrations, but big part of that is people actually following through through the program. So we timed our re-engagement postcard campaign so that the second email/postcard should go out around early to mid-July, and that way people would still have time to participate, or if they forgot that they had signed up, that they could log their things. So we'll see if that has any impact or not. And then the other thing is you have our 2024 audit is complete. You have the final report with the explanation letter, which basically just confirms it was a clean audit with no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies identified. So once you have a chance, if you want to really dive into that report and you have any questions, then you should follow up with me or Lori. And if we don't know the answer, we can give you the answer. But we've also submitted this to CCPL because this and our capital improvement plan that you approved today are part of the bond financing process. So we're leaving that to them for that.
And those work towards our rating, right?
Yes, they do.
I'm going to interrupt right here. Tanya, the Board of Trustees would like to thank you for your 4 years of service to the Cass County Library System. During the 4 years she has served as president of the Board of Trustees, she's worked diligently to inform herself of the workings of the library, and if she ever needed more information, she would contact staff and other trustees to better understand the situation. During her tenure as board president, the Pleasantville branch was completed. The Northern Resource Center branch in Darlington was expanded. Upgrades have been completed to all branches in the system, whether it be computers, furniture machines, carpet, etc. Paid for with the passage of 5L, which was before Tanya, but she helped carry out promises on the issue. The annex was established in Harrisonville for safe storage of the bookmobile and established offices, technology, building maintenance, and outreach services. We started the process to relocate this branch into administrative services. A complete review of library policies was achieved during that time. A new director of the system was hired, and as of tonight, the capital improvement plan has been approved. So Tanya, thank you for your service to the patrons of Cass County. There's a thing on there. And thank you for your public service to the citizens of Cass County.
Thank you. I want to share my sincere gratitude for the last 4 years. Becky, you and I have been there for 4 years. I appreciated getting to know you, appreciated your wisdom, and just your willingness to help me when I have questions or different things like that. I really appreciate you. Lori, I guess we've been together 4 years too, so thank you. You've answered questions, you put up with all of my, about this, and just trying to learn and understand, and I just really appreciate all of y'all's patience and kindness and willingness to help me teach me, I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about how to work with others, and that I just love
being around people. So this is hard for me to leave, but I do have a different direction that I'm going in, and so it just doesn't fit right now. But I wanted to thank everybody. It just challenged me in my thinking, and it's helped me grow. I'm a better person than I was 4 years ago when I started, and you guys have had a great hand in that, so I really do appreciate it. The way I bring words in great hands, Robin, I love you to death, and I just appreciate you, I appreciate you, and the entire staff. It's a well-oiled machine that you are operating, and it's just fun to watch. And you guys are awesome, and you will, it's hard to, I'll tell you this, it is hard to leave in the middle of this Harrisonville project. Like, you do not know how long I have, how many months it was of being like, can I leave? I don't know if I can do it, but it's in good hands, and it's not like I'm leaving to see everything. So I'll also be around. I have great respect for each of you ladies, and Dennis, if you were here, I'd be saying I have great respect for you too. And I do wish all of you great success in all of your personal lives and in the things that you work on here at the library system. So thank you for the opportunity to serve alongside you. I don't know, I love it. So thank you, I appreciate it. Are there any, there's no foundation, there wasn't a foundation, any trustee comments? Anything before we recess to executive? All right, I would entertain a motion to recess to executive session for we don't need anything for legal duty. No. Okay, so we're going to just recess to executive session for negotiated contract and personnel records.
I make the motion to recess to executive session for negotiated contract and personnel matters.
I'll second that. All right, we're going to, I'll take a roll call to recess to executive session for negotiated contract and personnel matters. Diana?
Yes.
Yes. Sherry? Yes. All right. Thank you all very much.